The 1945 United Nations Charter successfully fulfilled its primary mandate, preventing a Third World War. For 80 years, this design provided the framework for international cooperation. That architecture relied on two specific pillars: absolute state sovereignty and the Security Council veto. Today, this setup is causing gridlock. Modern global problems do not respect national borders, colliding with a system accelerating beyond our control. To address this, the Global Governance Forum has drafted a second United Nations Charter. This document treats global governance as an engineering problem. It provides a structural blueprint to solve the principal agent issue of international law, where national interests often supersede the needs of humanity as a whole. The UN's current paralysis is a calculated outcome. Under the 1945 structural constraints, institutional deadlock is a mathematical certainty. The authors identify a core paradox. The unstoppable force of apocalyptic global threats is hitting the immovable object of state sovereignty. Article 2.7 of the original charter defines this limit. It strictly forbids the United Nations from intervening in matters that are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. This restriction effectively blocks binding global action on threats that do not recognize borders, such as climate collapse or a biological pandemic. The second charter proposes a shift from an intergovernmental forum of states to a dual sovereignty legislature. This architecture is designed to represent executive governments and individual citizens simultaneously. Institutionalizing dual sovereignty provides the legal mechanism to pass binding laws for planetary survival while maintaining the existence of the nation-state. The redesign starts in the preamble, changing "we the peoples" to "we the people." This grounds sovereignty directly in the individual. The General Assembly remains the organ of nations. It preserves the one state, one vote model to represent the executive branches of every member country. But the second charter adds a new legislative house, the Parliamentary Assembly. This body represents global citizens independently of their national governments. Allocating seats by population creates a demographic challenge. If the math is strictly proportional, the world's most populous nations would entirely dominate the assembly. The solution is digressive proportionality. As a country's population grows, its allocated seats per million people gradually decrease. No single state can hold more than 10% of total seats. This ensures smaller nations maintain a functional voice. Members of this assembly serve 4-year terms and are legally prohibited from receiving instructions from their home governments. This bicameral legislature balances the political reality of equal nation-states with the demographic reality of the human family. Article 23 is restructured to expand the Security Council from 15 to 25 members, correcting historical imbalances in global representation. These seats are split into 5 permanent members, 5 long-term renewable seats, and 15 non-renewable seats allocated by region. However, a larger council remains vulnerable to the veto power of the permanent members, which can lead to total institutional gridlock during an emergency. To solve this, the second charter introduces a pressure release valve, a veto override mechanism under Article 12.3. If a permanent member exercises a veto, the resolution is automatically diverted to the General and Parliamentary Assemblies for a joint decision. Bypassing the Security Council requires a concurrent 2/3 supermajority vote in both the GA and the PA. This preserves the Security Council's primary role, while preventing any single superpower from holding the global community hostage during a crisis. The second charter also introduces the Earth System Council to address the missing pillar of environmental governance. This places planetary health on the same operational tier as international security for the first time. To enforce these protocols, the Charter creates a legal paradigm shift through Article 15. This article is only activated by an extreme trigger, the formal determination of an exigent situation that threatens human species survival. Once triggered, the assemblies can pass universally binding resolutions that supersede conflicting national treaties. To ensure this does not lead to an unaccountable world government, the Charter imposes strict constitutional guardrails. Any Article 15 resolution requires an overwhelming 4/5 supermajority in both houses to pass. Furthermore, all actions are governed by Article 2.1. This mandates the principles of subsidiarity, acting only when states cannot, and proportionality, using the least restrictive intervention. Finally, the International Court of Justice holds the power of judicial review to strike down any resolution that violates these constraints. Article 15 bridges the gap between apocalyptic threats and state inaction. It creates a binding emergency mechanism contained within a strict legal framework. The newly engineered architecture of the United Nations is a coordinated system. The bicameral assemblies act as the central decision-making hub for the specialized councils, all under the legal supervision of the ICJ. This design is built on a calculated trade-off. Nations are asked to cede a highly constrained, heavily audited slice of their absolute sovereignty. In exchange, the global community gains the institutional machinery required to avert planetary collapse. Rather than a finalized, unalterable treaty, this text provides a rigorously engineered starting point for the 2024 Summit of the Future. The 1945 architecture was designed to save succeeding generations from the scourge of a Third World War. This second charter secures the life support functions of our planet. Survival now requires an architecture that